We're seeing more inventory, buyer demand slow, homes sitting on the market longer, and we're starting to see price drops across the board. So what does this mean for you as a buyer in the state of California? Well, in today's video, we're going to look at the most recent data from the California Association of Realtors as well as Redfin to show you what's happening in the California housing market. Now, I'm not going to get super heavy on the data because at the end of the day, many of you guys don't care about the numbers. You just care what's actually happening as a buyer, as a seller in the state. And that's what we're going to take a look at. We're going to tell you with boots on the ground. I'm going to talk about some listings that I have. I'm going to talk about working with some recent buyers, what we're seeing out there. And then towards the end of the video, we're going to talk about what's happening in my local market, Orange County. For those of you out there interested in Orange County, we're going to get a little bit more specific on that data in order to help you make the best decisions as a home buyer in 2022. So the most recent data shows that the median home price has continued to rise. At the same time, we're seeing the number of homes sell actually go down. So the number of people going into escrow is going down on a year-over-year basis. So what does this actually mean? Well, it means there's less demand out there in the market. There's less people purchasing homes. Now, is it because of affordability? Is it because of a lack of available options? Partly because of both, but primarily due to affordability. We've seen interest rates rise considerably since the beginning of the year. As you can see from this graph here, the average homeowner's payment has gone up a lot. And if you heard my recent video where I talked about, different price points, the average home buyer's paying about 35% more today than they were just 3 to 4 months ago because of that rise in rates. And because of that, that is keeping home buyers from purchasing property. So they're sitting on the sidelines. They're not making that move for one reason or another. And because of that, we're seeing 19.4% of the homes on the market actually have some sort of price reduction. Now, does this mean they were overpriced from the start? It's hard to say. Many of the sellers out there at the moment are still thinking they have the best home on the market. How can I say that? Because I work with sellers. I have conversations with sellers. Many sellers are still trying to take the mindset of pricing it above the last comparable sell. And because inventory is increasing and buyer demand is slowing, that's not exactly the right approach. When pricing a home a year ago, we would have taken the most recent comp, say that it closed in May, we would have said, okay, that property likely went into escrow in March, and the market's increasing 3-4% a month, and we would have tacked that on. We would have taken that March sale and we would have added April's and half of May's appreciation to that and said, okay, this home today is maybe worth about 5% more than the comp that just closed yesterday because it went into escrow a month and a half ago and the market was appreciating. But that's not the case today. We've seen the market slow. That doesn't mean we're seeing homes sell for significantly less. It just means to be competitive in the market and sell your property quickly, you've got to be more aligned with the last comparable sell versus trying to price it well above that property. And that's why I'm seeing homes sit on the market longer. So if you're a buyer out there, this is something to pay attention to. You no longer, in many markets, have to make a decision the very first weekend. Because supply has increased nearly 12% year over year, buyers have more options to choose from. They have less competition out there. And that affordability has taken people out of the market. So buyers have an opportunity to breathe, see a property, and make a logical, rational decision whether or not they want to move forward. And therefore, homes are sitting a little bit longer. So I want to take a minute here and talk about some listings that I have at the moment as well as some buyers to tell you what I'm experiencing in this market. And then we'll talk about what's happening here in Orange County. Now, before we dive into that, I want to take a minute and ask a favor. If you find any value in my content at all, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up, and also let me know what you think about the housing market. Leave it in the comments below. I want to know what you're experiencing out there as a buyer or maybe a seller having your house on the market. What are you actually seeing? This will help me in making videos and guiding people in the future. Now, I want to take a minute here and talk about a couple of listings that I have, and then we'll talk about some buyers as well. But I've listed 2 properties recently that have sat on the market a little bit longer than the buyers have anticipated, if you will. So in having these original conversations and talking about price, we've tried to price strategically where we thought the homes would sell. based on comparable sales. And what we've seen through open houses and showings is just a lack of demand out there in the market. And people, in seeing the properties, people are, looking for different things always in the homes that they're looking for, but people are slower in making decisions. I always like to follow up with agents and have conversations. What did your client think? What do you think about price? And just get a gauge from that agent to see what they're thinking. And more often than not, what I'm hearing right now is my clients like the property, but they're still looking. They haven't made a decision yet. Whereas 6 months ago, those properties would have had multiple offers on them probably the first day. Now, one of these properties is probably priced a little bit higher than where it should be, but the seller wanted to price it there. They wanted to take it above the last comparable sale because they thought their property is a little bit nicer, and it is nicer. But as the market changes and more inventory comes to the market, interest rates increase, homes are going to sit a little bit longer. And that is going to give buyers an opportunity to likely buy property for less than the listing price. Now, this doesn't mean you're going to be able to go in and offer 10, 20% less on a property, but it does mean in some of these scenarios, you're going to be the only offer. And if you're the only offer, chances are you're in the driver's seat a little bit more than you were a couple of months ago. So you have an opportunity to negotiate a little bit more. You have an opportunity to not necessarily do everything the seller wants. And I think that's important to note. Now, with that said, I have a couple of buyers that I'm working with as well. And they've reached out to me recently saying, hey, look, this property's been on the market about a week. Can you call and figure out the status? We want to see it. And the last 2 properties I've called about have gone into escrow. Right? So they sat on the market for about a week, which is a little bit longer than it would have been a couple of months ago. But when I called to see if we could show it and to ask what was going on, those sellers had already accepted an offer. So many houses out there are still moving. The desirable pockets that are always popular, the floor plans that are always popular, those homes are still going to sell and likely sell at a premium. But at the same time, the homes that are overpriced, the homes that aren't the most desirable locations, the homes that you were surprised that were getting the premium prices a year ago, those homes are likely to sit a little bit longer, which is going to give you, as a potential buyer, more opportunity. Now, with that being said, I think you need to have the right mindset when going in and purchasing a property in this market. Now, I know a lot of people harp on me for repeating this, but we have seen prices increase substantially over the last couple of years. So it's important to note, if you're considering buying a property for the short term, you need to be really, really cautious, because at some point, homes do need to pull back closer to that 4 to 5% trend that we've seen over the last 40 to 50 years with regards to home price appreciation. Over the last 2 years, we've seen homes appreciate nearly 35 to 40% in many markets out there. And so at some point, you need a pullback in home prices to get back to that trend. Now, in no way do I expect that to happen at one point or this year, but I do expect home price appreciation to moderate. And with that, you have to keep in mind, as a buyer, you're not likely to see the appreciation that we've seen over the last couple of years going forward. So you need to have that 5-7 year time horizon. You need to be going in thinking that you're going to own this property for a longer period of time. Why? So you can withstand any bumps in the market. And you also need to have reserves and not be stretching yourself on the payment. Don't go in and become house poor just to buy a house. Make sure you're buying for the right reasons. So in summary here, I don't think the housing market is going to stall. I do think it is going to slow, going to give buyers a better opportunity to become a homeowner, assuming you meet the qualifications and what have you. There's going to be less competition out there. There's going to be more property to choose from. But those properties that are perfect, those properties that are priced right, are still likely to sell at the asking price, maybe above the asking price in many cases. So just know what you're getting into. Now, with regards to Orange County, we've seen some changes over the last couple of weeks. This past week, we reached the highest level of inventory that we've seen all year at 2,000, roughly 500 homes. That's a substantial increase over where we started the year, which was just under 1,000 homes. But overall, inventory is just above where we were this time last year. So we actually have more inventory on the market right now than we did last year, which is the first time we've seen an increase from the previous year since 2019. But with all of that taken into context, the 3-year average prior to the pandemic, 2017 through 2019, we had 6,255 homes on the market. That's 155% more than we have on the market today. Back then, it was still a seller's market. Now, the housing market was moving much slower at that time, but it wasn't a buyer's market. It was still a seller's market. It wasn't a buyer's market, but buyers had an opportunity to negotiate a little bit more. There was a lot less competition out there, but we're still operating with considerably less homes on the market. So just keep that in mind when you're out there making offers. Many buyers are still going to be looking at the current inventory out there saying, I don't see anything. There's nothing out there that matches what I'm looking for. And that's because we still have a low level of supply of homes. Even though inventory is increased, in the big scheme of things, we still have a low level of homes. But the nice thing as a buyer is we've likely seen demand peak already. Typically, demand peaks sometime between April and May, but we've actually seen demand peak based on this chart back in March. So the idea is that you're going to have less buyers out there, you're going to have inventory increasing, which means you have a better opportunity to become a home buyer, assuming you can find the right home. With all of that said, I expect the market to kind of move sideways from here. I don't expect big price appreciation on many homes. I don't expect many homes to see big declines in prices either. I see more of a moderation of prices, which is a good thing. You know, seeing home prices move sideways for a period of time is actually a good thing for homeowners. It's a good thing for buyers as well. But if you're a seller, you know, the question is often, have I missed the peak? What should I do at this point? I will say I do think there's still an opportunity to get top dollar for your home, but it's all about pricing it right. It's all about doing the things that you really haven't had to do over the last couple of years because it's been so competitive. Those are the things that you have to start thinking about again. So as a seller, there's still an opportunity to take advantage and maximize price and profit and get top dollar, but you got to make sure you're asking yourself the right questions. And I'm going to link to a video here that you can check out if you're thinking of selling and what questions to ask yourself. But if you're still watching this wondering whether you should buy now or wait, do me a favor, check out this video here. I dive into it in more detail. But for now, I appreciate you taking the time to watch. I appreciate the support. Hope to see you again soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.